Hello everybody. It's been a while since I put anything on my YouTube channel, so I'm going to go ahead and go over my Haversack. I've got a couple main kits. I got my canteen kit, which I'll do a video on, my Haversack kit, my regular bushcraft kit, and then I've got a hiking slash backpacking trip when I'm doing longer distances. So this is the Haversack kit, and my goal for this is to be able to go out in the woods to a certain spot and set up and just hang out for the day. It's not meant to do long trips, although it probably could. It's maybe 5 pounds. It's not very heavy, but the goal is to be able to do a night or two in the woods if I had to, fairly comfortably. So we'll go ahead and get into this. This is a Raging River Haversack. It's made out of a nice Cordura. I've looked at a lot of different Haversacks, Malcolms and stuff, but the price on Malcolms is pretty high because the demand is high. I went with this one because it fits my needs and I really like the look of it and stuff. It's got a nice big hook and loop field for morale patches or whatever. A really long strap with the keeper up here. I like a nice shoulder strap. This has got a nice pad on it. But what I do is I will lay, if I'm going any distance, I'll lay the pack down, put the strap around the lower part of my back, and then flip the pack up over my shoulders, and it basically turns it into a little backpack. So that's how I use it. It's got a nice grab handle. It's got, on the sides, it's got these slip pockets that I've got my knife in. Made in America. It's got all this MOLLE. You can attach different stuff to it. This is a knife that I put together. This is a Brisa Trapper. It used to be a Enzo Trapper, and I made the handle for it out of a couple slabs of desert ironwood and some micarta. It's a really thick, fat handle, but I've got fairly large hands, and this feels good in my hand. I also made the sheath several years ago. My dog got a hold of it and tore the tip up. And this sheath is used and abused, but it happens to fit this knife really well. It's got a little attachment on it because I wear bibs all the time. And so this is off of one of my old worn out pairs of bibs. And this will clip on one of the buttons. So there's my knife. On the other side, in the same type of pocket, I've got a Opinel folding saw. Nice little folding saw for a day trip. Does good. It's a pull cut, so it's just a good little saw. So we'll go ahead and get into the bag itself. On the front, in this hatchet loop, I've got a Wetterling's hatchet. This is a really old head for me. This was one of my first hatchets that I bought, but this came on a 19-inch handle, and this is about a 12 to 13-inch long handle. So this is a much heavier head than you would normally put on this size of handle, but it fit, and it turned out to be a really decent little hatchet. Got this keeper here. So when I pack a bag, I try to make sure I do shelter, fire, water, and food, and then signal and navigation. So shelter, I've got a Integral Designs 5x8 sill tarp. This is a nice tarp. I made sure to make all the lines for it. They're already hooked to the tarp. I've got about 15 feet of line on each corner. I've got some tarp tensioners on it, and I've got a continual ridge line for it. So I've got some cover. I'll get to the other part of my shelter here in a minute. It's at the bottom of the Haversack. I've got a little cook kit, and my wife Tracy turned me on to these. This is a Tokes titanium 750 milliliter pot with handles and bail, so I can hang it over a fire if I want. Nice lid, and I set this up so that I would have a pot to cook in. Angle you down just a bit. I'd have a pot to cook in with a lid. There's also a lid in there that's for This cup, you see I got a rag that I stuffed in there, partially to keep it quiet so it's not rattling around, and also so that I can clean out my pot and my cup. So in here I have a 4-ounce bottle of alcohol. I've got a little cat food can stove. This is the Fancy Feast stove. This is a cat food can with a tomato paste can and some carbon felt. This works really well because the flames go straight up, and on a pot this small, if you have a pot that has the bloom that comes out, it often goes out past the edge of the pot, ends up heating up your handles. It's not very efficient, so I made this little stove. I'm probably going to make a little simmer ring for it too. I also have a dog here sticking to everything. I've got a little GSI pot grabber so I can pick up a pot without burning myself. Little mini Bic lighter to light my stove. And then I've got a Toaks titanium 450 milliliter pot with a hot lips on it. So this way I can eat and drink at the same time. This stove with 1 ounce of alcohol will cook this full 750 milliliter pot without much issue. And that 750 milliliter pot is enough to do a dehydrated meal and a cup of coffee. So that's my little cook kit that I put together. Move that stuff out of the way. And here I've got an old peanut butter jar that inside I've put 2 packets of oatmeal. I've got 4 of these little sachets of a really decent little, I'm not a huge fan of instant coffee, but sometimes it's easier. Some peanut butter and crackers, and then in the lid is 2 of the stinging nettle and mint tea leaves that I like, or tea bags that I like. And that's pretty full. It's just a decent little way. It's not crush proof by any means, but it will keep your food fairly dry unless you submerge this. So I've got a little bit of food. My water bottle. I've been thinking about adding a pocket to the outside so that I can carry my bottle outside, but I really don't need any extra room on the inside. I'm fine with what I've got. I just got a couple challenge stickers from different hikes I've done. In the bottom down here, I had this spork, but I recently picked up this Toaks spoon, which is really the same size. This one's a bit lighter than this one, so I'll switch those out. I have this the other half of my shelter. This is a Grand Trunk Ultralight. I'm pushing the weight limit. I'm 6'3", about 270. This thing has about a 250 weight limit, I think, but it still holds me. If it breaks, I'm not going to cry about it. It's a really lightweight hammock, and I've had it for years. But it's got all the straps and the structural ridgeline and all that I need to do a overnight if I needed to. Or just to, what Tracy and I like to do is we like to go out to the woods, set up our hammocks, and just hang out for the day and just kind of relax. You can see it's orange in the inside. There's nothing in the main body now. In this first pocket, it says got 2 zippered pockets on the inside. I've got a Fall Niven DC4 for sharpening my knife or my axe. I like to carry a big chunk of fat wood, and what I'll do is I'll shave a couple splinters off of here. You know, split just a tiny bit off the end, and then split that into a couple pieces, and that's what I'll use to get my fire going. And I'll get my fire lay all ready, and then I'll use this and I'll scrape some dust off of it and use one of the splinters. I'll scrape my ferro rod into that dust, use the splinter to light the splinter, and then transfer the splinter into the fire. And then that way my fire's already set up and going. I don't have to add anything to it right away, and it gives me some time to put my stuff away. So I've got to carry a chunk of fat wood for my fire. Also have a ferro rod. It's just an old ferro rod I got. I always have a Bic lighter or 2 on me too. In the bigger back pocket that's also zippered, I carry a Black Diamond Spot headlamp. This works really well. It runs on 3 AAAs. I used this recently. It's got a red light feature that I used on a night hike at a guided night hike at one of the state parks, and it worked really well. They required you to use a red light so it didn't ruin the night vision. So this worked out really well. And then last but not least in here, I've got a compass. This is a Sunto A10 base plate compass, just a simple cheap compass. And on it I put some beads so I could have some paste beads. That's the contents of my haversack. If you think that I'm missing anything, or you're curious about any of this stuff, kind of comments, questions, suggestions, that kind of stuff, leave it down below. And until the next one, thanks for watching.